All right, let's get right into it. Education. It's something pretty much all of us go through, right? It's this huge shared experience that really shapes who we are. But have you ever stopped to think about the actual words we use for it all? The language for our teachers, our schools, our successes, and even our struggles? That's what we're going to explore today, the vocabulary of learning. It's kind of like the script for one of the most important journeys of our lives. So think back with me for a second. I want you to picture that one teacher, the one who just got it, the one who really made a difference. What was it about them? Was it their passion, the way they explained things so it finally clicked? Or maybe they were just the one person who saw something special in you. Just hold that thought, because figuring out what makes a great educator is exactly where we're going to start.
So first up, the people who teach. Let's meet the guides on this educational journey, because as you'll see, teaching happens in a lot more places than just a classroom.
What's so cool here is how the idea of a teacher is so much bigger than what we might think. Of course, you've got your school teacher, but then you have a university lecturer who's shaping these really high-level academic minds. And what about a personal trainer? They're guiding your physical growth. Or a private tutor, giving that one-on-one help. They all have different methods, for sure, but the goal is always the same, helping someone learn and get better.
But let's be real. A job title only tells you part of the story, doesn't it? So what are those human qualities that turn a good instructor into a great one? The kinds you remember years and years later.
And when you look at these all together, that's where you see the real magic. I mean, knowledge of the subject. That's the foundation, obviously. You got to know your stuff. But without patience to deal with mistakes, or kindness to build up someone's confidence, or real enthusiasm to make things exciting, the connection just isn't going to be there. It's that blend, that human combination, that really truly reaches a student.
Okay, so we've met the people. Now let's explore their world. We're going to take a super quick tour through a typical school day, checking out the places and the routines that make up a student's life.
First stop, the corridor. This is basically the artery of the school, just buzzing with energy between classes. It's way more than just a hallway, right? It's the social hub where you catch up with your friends and mentally switch gears from math to history.
Next up, we're stepping into the science lab. Okay, this is where things get real. It's the place of discovery, where you hear the hiss of Bunsen burners and see things bubbling in beakers. It's where all those abstract ideas from a textbook suddenly become real things you can actually see and test.
From experiments to a much-needed break in the canteen. And this isn't just about the food. This is about refueling your brain and, just as important, socializing. The informal learning that happens here, just chatting with your friends, is honestly as crucial as any formal lesson.
And we'll wrap our little tour up in the gymnasium. This is the space for teamwork, for physical education, and for just letting off some steam. When you see all these places together, you get a real sense of that balance a school tries to create between mind, body, and social life. Now, let's connect those places to the actions that actually bring them to life. Because we don't just stand around in these spaces, we do things. We do experiments in the lab, we have lunch in the canteen, and we attend lessons. This vocabulary, these verb-noun pairs, they're basically the engine that keeps the whole school day moving. Okay, we've met the people, we've toured the places, so now let's zoom out to the bigger picture, the systems themselves. These are the institutions that map out our entire educational path, sometimes before we can even walk. And what's so fascinating here is how the exact same journey can have a completely different set of words to describe it. What Americans call elementary school, the British system breaks down into infant and junior school, senior high school versus secondary school. It's the same goal, just different labels. It's a perfect example of how where you are totally shapes the language of learning. So, for most families, this is the default path, the state school. It's funded by the government, it's run by the government, and it's designed to make sure education is accessible to everybody. You could really say it's the backbone of the entire national education system. And the main alternative to that is a private school. The name pretty much says it all. The key difference is that you pay fees. And because they're independent from the state system, they can often offer different things, like smaller class sizes, or maybe a really specific educational philosophy.
And then you've got this really unique type of private school, the boarding school. This is where the school isn't just a place you go to learn, it's your home for most of the year. It's a totally immersive experience where the lines between your school life and your personal life are just completely redrawn.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about one of the most intense parts of school, assessment. This is where we get into the language of pressure, of performance, and that all-important goal of
Making the grade. This slide just perfectly captures the whole cycle that every student knows so well. You study, you take the exam, and then you face one of two outcomes. You either pass or you fail. But I really want you to look at that last step, reset an exam. The language itself actually builds in this idea of resilience, of getting a second chance to go back and try again. And speaking of second chances, here's a phrase that is just full of hope and effort: to catch up. It's not just about getting to the same place as everyone else. It's about that active, hard-working process of closing a gap. It's all about working hard to get back on track. It's a word of resilience, really. And then, here's the flip side. That feeling of falling behind. It's such a passive, sinking feeling, right? Like you're just overwhelmed and you can't keep up. These two phrases, catch up and fall behind, they perfectly capture that constant push and pull, that tension of trying to make academic progress.
Okay, for our final section, let's look at the legacy of all this language. The world of education has given us so many rich idioms, these colorful phrases that we use to talk about success and intelligence long after we've left school. So take a look at this sentence. This is a super common way to praise someone who is just exceptionally talented. But notice how it borrows directly from the language of school, a class, to talk about excellence in any area, whether it's sports or music or business.
What this idiom really does is it lifts someone completely beyond comparison. They're not just at the top of the class, they are the class. They're in a category of one. It's like the ultimate academic compliment, but repurposed for everyday life.
And that brings us to our final thought. From being the teacher's pet to making the grade or falling behind, the vocabulary we pick up in school becomes the very framework we use to understand success and failure for the rest of our lives. So just take a second to think about it. How has this language shaped your story?